In the southeast corner of Asia, tapering down in a long finger towards Australia, lies the interesting and exotic Federation of Malaya and the oriental island of Singapore. Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaya, where picturesque Islamic architecture mingles with the modern, a city of contrasts in a land of contrasts. Traditional monastic buildings and temples, modern apartment buildings interspersed with smaller tenement homes of much inferior quality, suburban flats and cluttered alleyways over which hang the washing of countless families. Down on the street side, people, uninhibited, enjoy their meals. Malaya is a full member of the British Commonwealth, having gained independence in 1957 and signed an external defence and mutual assistance agreement with Britain in the same year. In Malaya is the primitive and the modern. Women in the paddy fields hand cut the rice, sift it through woven baskets, letting the wind separate the husk from the grain. Some industries just can't be mechanized, gathering palm oil, for instance. Or the tapping of rubber trees. Malaya grows about 2/5 of the world's rubber. Tin mining is also a huge industry. Loosened by high-pressure jets of water, the ore is sluiced away. What is missed by the searching water is retrieved by the more laborious means of panning by hand. This is usually carried out by women. There is contrast in construction, too. Malaya is a particularly colourful country, with its plantations and its villages. Fish is one of the subsistence products of the country, and although pliers are used to wire fish traps, less modern methods are employed in the treating of nets. This is a typical fishing village of Malaya. The younger men waiting to see the catch. Processions are a big occasion for the people of Malaya, and participants and onlookers alike dress up for the festivities. Of the population of 7 million people, only half are Malays. There are more than 2.5 million Chinese, 800,000 Indians and Pakistanis, and 100,000 people of other races. Malaya, with its multi-racial society, is an unusual posting for the men of the Australian, British and New Zealand armies who serve in the British Commonwealth Far East Strategic Reserve. Terenda Barracks, just north of Malacca on the west coast of the peninsula, is the headquarters. Here lies the extensive modern cantonment for the Commonwealth troops and their families, a modern settlement with all the facilities required of a permanent community. Australia's regular infantrymen in the 3 battalions of the Royal Australian Regiment, with engineer and artillery support, have all served in Malaya since 1955. Australian soldiers and their families live in unpretentious but neat homes. If it weren't for the tropical plants in the district and the different climatic conditions, they might be in a new suburb in Australia. They have the same shopping facilities as their counterparts in Australia. For most shopping, they use the NAFI stores, a British equivalent to the Australian Services Canteens organisation. And they have the use of self-service departments. At school, children of British, Australian and New Zealand servicemen show the true meaning of integration as they play and work together. They begin school at 7 o'clock in the morning here in the tropics, and they finish early in the afternoon. Accommodation for single men is spacious and modern. This is the home of the 2nd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment while serving in Malaya. Here they hold their regular battalion parades and carry out their normal military training. Carrying out their battle physical training, they feel the effect of tropical heat and humidity as they throw themselves over brick walls and jump obstacles at the double. For them, it's a task of constant readiness. Training with small arms keeps them fit and ready during their 2-year tour in Malaya. The jungle has many things to add to the hardships of a soldier. Not only is there the thick, almost impenetrable jungle, the oppressive heat and humidity, but also the snakes and the centipedes have to be guarded against. Medical orderlies, under the supervision of medical officers, keep troops well up with first aid to combat the danger of reptiles and to give the soldier confidence in his ability to fight in the jungle. There's no shortage of rivers in this part of Southeast Asia, and crossing them can be a problem. These troops are learning and practicing the art of crossing rivers with the aid of their ground sheets or waterproof capes. It enables them to get across with dry clothes, weapons and equipment. And to get wounded mates across to safety. Building bridges and roads and overcoming obstacles is the job of Army engineers, and they find plenty to do in Malaya. At present, there is still much to do around the Malacca cantonment to finish off training and living areas. The 105mm Italian pack howitzer has found a place with the Royal Australian Artillery Battery in Malaya. It's so versatile that it can be stripped down to 12 parts, carried by mules, dropped into position from a medium helicopter, carried by men, or shifted by transport aircraft. Aircraft are the answer to transport in the jungle. In this lecture session, an Australian Army instructor teaches Federation of Malaya troops aircraft loading. Transporting food and supplies to troops on patrol is always a problem, and troops have to learn how to load and stow aircraft, and how to parachute supplies to waiting patrols. It'd be a dull old soldier who didn't get his chance to play sport, although some of the sports that the Aussie is used to can be mighty hot work here. Hockey is popular, and Australian rules. And soccer is a sport which enables them to have matches against the other Commonwealth troops. Swimming is very popular in Malaya, especially for these Aussies enjoying a break from an exercise on the northeast coast. The beaches around Surrender Barracks are ideal for water skiing too. And the troops and their families find an afternoon dip most refreshing. Even Junior. The main ports for Malaya are Penang and Port Swettenham, but the principal outlet for the whole of the peninsula is Singapore. Singapore, at the tip of the Malay Peninsula, is joined to Malaya by a causeway 3/4 of a mile long. It's a thriving, cosmopolitan 224 square miles, with a 31 square mile city of Singapore and about 1,700,000 people. It's a good spot for leave. Spots like the NAFI Britannia Club for other ranks provide a most up-to-date service for the digger and his family. NAFI is run by the British Army, but its services are available to all Commonwealth troops. Trishaws abound in Singapore and Malaya, and together with man-drawn carts, mingle with modern high-powered cars through wide, spacious streets or cluttered, narrow thoroughfares. There's plenty of the unusual to keep the Australians interested. Like the reclining Buddha, or change alleys, where bartering is the commonplace thing, and where toys and knickknacks can be bought at comparatively cheap prices for the kiddies. Then there's always the zoo to while away an hour or two. Then, on the serious side, there's Changi Prison, the ill-famed prison which housed so many prisoners of war, including Australians, during the Second World War. And Kranji War Cemetery, where many of the Australians who did not come back are buried. Singapore, a fascinating place. But leave is over now, and it's back to training, learning how to be jungle fighters, how to move through the jungle. A machete is a very useful piece of equipment in this type of country. There's always the need for training and preparations for jungle patrols and the constant teaching to young soldiers the tricks learned in the jungles during and since the Second World War 20 years ago. Bringing the mortars into action can be hot, sticky work in the jungle, but mortarmen have to be fast and accurate if they're to support their infantry mates with fire. Infantrymen push their way forward in the jungle, strike with a phosphorus grenade, and then go in with a section attack. This time, against a phantom enemy. They must be prepared to fight tanks, too, in the jungle clearings and on the track. Gunners, with their 105mm Italian pack howitzers, give excellent fire support to infantry. The gun can be brought into action quickly, and there's little trouble for a trained crew to move about in close country. Because of its ability to fire in a high trajectory, it's ideal for giving supporting fire, which must clear trees and obstacles at both the firing end and the target area. Prepare for tanks, yells the gun sergeant. And the 105mm pack howitzer is quickly brought into action in its low silhouette position, ready for tank. When they're not wet with perspiration, the troops are wet with tropical downpours, which all calls for tough discipline and good humor. On and on, ever alert. Ambush! Now the real test of their months of training. First, self-defense. Then action to destroy as quickly as possible. Well trained, the soldiers leap to their places and take the offensive. Curt orders and the final charge as they break through the defense of the enemy. Then it's on again. Through some parts of the jungle where overhead vegetation is so dense that even in the middle of the day it is perpetually twilight. The enemy is hard to find. More rivers to cross, and the men struggle on, wet with perspiration as well as river water. On and on, through the jungle and water crossings, ever alert, ready for action. At the end of a training period, there is always the ever-welcome cup of coffee from the hard-working welfare man. He always seems to be there, and the troops call him Coffee Cup. They couldn't be more pleased to see him. What a good brew it is. Back on the parade ground at the Malaya Cantonment, the diggers proudly display their parade ground drills, which they know are just as necessary for keeping them fit and disciplined as they're slugging along jungle trails. Young men, they follow the tradition set up by their forebears in the two great wars which gave Australia its nationhood. They know that they are ambassadors, held in high esteem by the people of so many races, while serving on this, their Malaya Posting.